You used to know who you were. There was a time when your identity felt solid, when you could say, I am a teacher, I am a father, I am a hard worker. And those words didn't just describe you, they were you. You wore them like skin. You built your life around them. People depended on you, the world praised you, and for years it worked. You showed up, you performed, you carried the weight. But slowly, something changed. Not suddenly, not with drama, just a quiet shift, like the seasons turning without announcement. One morning, you looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the person staring back. Not because of age or tiredness, but because the story behind your eyes had changed. The titles, manager, mother, provider, achiever, no longer fit like they once did. They feel heavy now, like clothes that belong to someone else. You still do the work, you still show up. But inside, there's a growing silence, a distance, a sense that you're living someone else's life. And that's when the fear comes. Am I losing myself? Am I drifting? Have I failed? But what if you're not losing yourself? What if you're finally meeting yourself? Carl Jung said that before the true self can emerge, the false self must begin to fade. That version of you, the one built on duty, approval, and survival, was never meant to last forever. It served you. It protected you. But now, your soul is asking for more than survival. It wants truth. It wants authenticity. It wants to be seen, not for what you do, but for who you are. So this confusion isn't a flaw, it's a sign. The old identity is softening so the real one can breathe. You're not lost, you're being found. And being found doesn't feel like coming home. At first, it feels like leaving the roles, leaving the masks, leaving the version of you that everyone else loved. But beneath the grief of letting go is a quiet relief. For the first time, you're not pretending. You don't have to perform. You don't have to explain. You can simply be, even if you don't know who that is yet. And that's okay, because becoming isn't about knowing. It's about trusting. Trusting the silence, trusting the ache, trusting the pull towards stillness. This is the path of individuation, not a straight line, but a spiral. You circle back to the same questions, but each time you're deeper, each time you're closer. So if you feel unmoored right now, don't run back to the shore. Let yourself float. Let the current carry you. The person you're becoming isn't waiting at the end of this journey. They've been with you all along, quietly, patiently, waiting for you to stop pretending and start listening. The person you've been pretending to be. You wore the mask so well that even you forgot it was there. You smiled when you were breaking. You said, I'm fine, when you were drowning. You built a life that looked strong from the outside, but felt hollow from within. And for years it worked. The world praised you, loved you, relied on you. But now something in you refuses to keep playing the part. You don't hate your life. You don't want to burn it all down. But you can't keep pretending it still fits. That's when the guilt comes. How can I feel this way when I have so much? But inner emptiness doesn't care about logic. It only cares about truth. And the truth is, you've outgrown the container you built for yourself. Carl Jung called this the collapse of the persona, the social mask we wear to survive. It's not a mistake. It's a milestone. Because the soul cannot grow while confined to a role that no longer resonates. So you start questioning everything, your job, your relationships, your goals, not because they're bad, but because they no longer feel like yours. You feel reactive. Small things trigger big emotions. You cry in your car. You walk away from conversations. You cancel plans. People notice, they say, you've changed, and you don't know how to explain that you're not changing. You're remembering. Remembering the child who loved to draw, the teenager who wrote poetry, the part of you that never wanted to be successful, just free. This isn't rebellion. This is reclamation. You're not abandoning your life. You're reorienting it. You don't have to quit everything. You just have to stop pretending it still feeds you. Healing begins when you stop forcing yourself to fit into a version of life that no longer fits your soul. You don't need to know the next step. You just need to honor the feeling, the pull, the quiet voice that says, "This isn't me." And when you do, something shifts. You start choosing peace over performance, silence over small talk, truth over harmony. And slowly, your world begins to reflect you again. Not the mask, not the role, but the real, raw, beautiful self that was always there, waiting to be seen. You don't need to find yourself, because you're not lost. You're just buried under years of shoulds. Should be stronger, should be happier, should be more grateful, should be enough. But the real you doesn't live in the shoulds. It lives in the is, in the breath, in the pause, in the moment you choose tea over coffee just because it feels calming, in the walk you take with no destination, in the dream you remember and don't forget. Carl Jung believed that the unconscious prepares the way before the new self can emerge. It speaks in symbols, in synchronicities, in feelings that defy logic. You see the same number everywhere. A bird keeps appearing. A song plays at the perfect moment. These aren't accidents. They're signs. The universe whispering, "You're on the right path." You don't need to force clarity. You don't need a 5-year plan. You just need to follow what feels true. Not loud, not exciting, but deep, like a quiet yes in your chest. That's your inner compass. And it's been silenced for too long, so let it speak. Say no without guilt. Sit in silence without fear. Choose solitude without apology. These aren't signs of withdrawal. They're signs of reconnection. You're not losing your life. You're being asked to grow out of it. And when the new self finally rises, it won't be because you pushed. It will be because you paused, because you listened, because you finally stopped running from the one person you were always meant to meet, yourself. The mirror doesn't lie, but you stopped believing it. One day you stand in front of the mirror and something shifts, not in your face, not in your body, but in your eyes. There's a look there you haven't seen before, not sadness, not anger, just recognition, like you're seeing someone you've known forever but never met. That's the moment the soul breaks through, not with fireworks, not with revelation, but with quiet presence. You realize you've spent your whole life trying to become someone, when all along the real work was becoming yourself. Not the version shaped by your parents' expectations, not the one molded by society's rules, not the one built to survive childhood wounds, but the one that existed before all of that, the one who laughed without reason, who danced in the rain, who believed in magic. That self never died. It was just buried, and now, after years of silence, it's rising. It doesn't shout, it doesn't demand, it just is. And in its presence, the old fears begin to soften. The need for approval fades. The hunger for validation dissolves. Because for the first time, you feel whole. Not because of what you've achieved, but because of who you are. This isn't ego. This is essence. And essence doesn't need to prove anything. It only needs to be allowed. So if you're feeling this now, this quiet shift, this inner pull, this strange mix of peace and pain, don't run, don't try to fix it, just stay. This is not the end of you, this is the beginning. Carl Jung spent his life studying people who broke down, only to realize they weren't broken. They were becoming, and so are you. You're not late, you're not behind, you're not failing, you're not crazy. You're simply answering a call that only your soul could hear, and the world needs people who are awake. Not perfect, not loud, but real. You're not coming back. You're not going back to who you were. That version had its time. It served its purpose. But it was never meant to last forever. You're not returning to normal. You're stepping into truth, into depth, into a life that finally feels like yours. And when you rise, not because you have to, but because you're ready, the world will feel different. Not because the world changed, but because you did. You're not fixed. You're free. And that freedom began not with action, but with rest, with stillness, with the courage to finally stop, to finally listen, to finally say, I am not broken, I am becoming. And in that becoming, you are already whole, you're not lost, you're being found. And the one who is finding you is you.